Good morning. How are you all? Fine? Doesn't sound like it. Sounds like you all fallen asleep. Too much work last night, huh? I was a student. In 1978, I was president of the student union called HEC. Anyone from HEC here? Yes, okay, good, that's enough, only one. And I organized with a company called Monsanto a meeting about economy and ecology. Can you imagine, Monsanto? I had no idea who I was going to bed with. Monsanto indeed has changed its business quite a lot, but we talked there about the wastewater treatment center they were going to install. And that was the big revolution. 1978, Monsanto was installing a wastewater treatment center. What were they doing before? Not much has changed. And I want you to rethink what you want to do with your career. I want you to rethink in the terms of becoming the entrepreneur. When I graduated from university, I decided I was never ever going to work for any of these companies that sell me bullshit. I didn't believe them. I couldn't be attracted by them. I couldn't be motivated by them. I couldn't be inspired, and I couldn't get any of my dreams into their business plans. And the one thing you have to do as a student is be true to yourself and stick to your dreams. Because you're in the last moments of being able to formulate and think big. And afterwards, it's micromanagement of cash flow. I've been fortunate to write, in the year 2009, a report to the Club of Rome. And I called it The Blue Economy. I could, on the basis of my 30 years of experience as an entrepreneur, having set up 12 companies, of which 2 went under, I knew that the business models we're pursuing and the opportunities we're seeing toward the future are not what we think it is. We have to change the thinking. But if I was able to write this report to the Club of Rome, with more than 1 million copies sold today, in 35 languages, I could only do it because I had the mentorship. I had the people who criticized me. I had the people who told me that I was a nut and out of my mind and my numbers were wrong. I had people who supported me. I had people who pushed me forward. And there in the center is a picture in black and white. Because in 1982, I was here at HEC with Aurelio Pecei, the founder of the Club of Rome. And here at HEC 30 years ago in May, we debated about the next economy. 30 years later, you can't be talking about the same thing. It has to change. And therefore, we have to start thinking way beyond. Because if we only teach you what we know, you can never do better than we have done. And we messed up. Our generation failed. Our generation is a generation of the past. You are the present and the future. And I think with that mindset, we should get going. What is this glass? Is it half full or half empty? It is always full. Because it's full with water and air. The problem is, we're only asking the questions about the water. What we need to do is to ask the questions about which we don't have the answers, and that makes it interesting. I'm professor at the Politecnico di Torino. I'm professor in architectural design. I'm not an architect. I don't know why they made that mistake, but anyway, they did. And I open my classes with a very clear statement as professor. Any student who can come to me in the final weeks of the exams and poses me a question to which in 24 hours I don't have an answer gets maximum points. I tell you, students go and look for those questions. They think it's the greatest joy they could have, is to put that professor up with a question he doesn't have an answer to. And you know what? I love it. Because then I'm learning. I'm tired of teaching. I want to learn. Life is about learning. Learning to go way beyond this beautiful blue earth with this magnificent biodiversity, Time has come to shift away from that green economy for which I have been fighting for decades, and look beyond the realities of it, because whatever is good for your health, whatever is good for the environment is expensive, and therefore was subsidized, and therefore you will be taxed. It's not the kind of proposal you make for a sustainable economy. It doesn't work. A blue economy is one where we're clearly focusing on innovations to go beyond whatever we could even imagine, but to do it competitive. And I cannot condone any technology that is not generating jobs. You heard me. Any technology we introduce must generate jobs. This obsession of eliminating of jobs is the most asocial behavior that the capitalistic system has ever invented. And we have to change it. Because this is not the way that we have an inclusive society. It's not only about sustainability and being smart, it's about being social, inclusive, and giving everyone the opportunity to develop to their full potential. We have to stop protecting and only complying with the law. It's divisive. We have to regenerate. We have to change the rules of the game. Dear students, remember, in your mind, once and for all, you're going to change the rules of the game. You're not going to play with the rules. There is no level playing field in this society. You change the rules. It's David versus Goliath, and David wins. Because you choose the best. You choose the best for all. And we have to stop doing less bad. This whole notion of reducing pollution doesn't make any sense. Can you imagine there is a young boy standing in front of a judge and he tells the judge, he promises, after being caught 3 times for stealing, he promises to steal less. What do you think will be the reaction of the judge? Send this kid to jail. And then we have these corporations who come to us and say, we've reduced toxic pollution by 80%. And what do? We give an environmental award. What is this joke? Can't we wake up and see that we have a double moral? So thieving is thieving, stealing is stealing, polluting is polluting. There's no doing of less pollution. Polluting is polluting. Change your mindset. Do more good. That's what we have to do. And to do more good, we have to start local, and we have to incite more people to become the entrepreneurs. We rely in this new society on the emergence of a new class of entrepreneurs, not social entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs who always, in whatever they do, are social, are ecological, and are competitive. Nothing else. I don't like the division of social entrepreneurs in that corner. Everyone is social, otherwise you're not. And I had my lessons. I created, exactly 20 years ago, the first ecological factory in the world. An ecological factory with a big grass roof. An ecological factory without waste. Without any wastewater going into the sewage system. And that factory was producing biodegradable soaps. But I didn't realize that the success of this company growing from €1 million to 300 million euros was going to set a new standard for biodegradable soaps, leading to the destruction of 1 million hectares of rainforest in Indonesia. How could I be the hero of green business in Europe while destroying the habitat of the orangutan? I can't. And if you know you're not sustainable as a whole, and you continue doing it, you cause collateral damage. Collateral damage cannot be condoned by society. It is immoral. That is why business has to rethink beyond the corporate social responsibilities. We are, as a society, condoning collateral damage, and we shouldn't do it. And therefore, in '93, when I realized the situation, I decided we had to create a new business model. A new business model where instead of always focusing on cutting costs, we have to focus on doing more with what we have, generate more revenue. It's simple. But business is all about cutting costs so we can go into this drive towards the globalization with standardized products where everything gets so cheap that it's worthless. And it pollutes. And we want to be competitive in that environment? No, change the rules of the game. Sustainability in the end is the capacity to respond to the basic needs of all with what we have. And that's the way nature works. Nature, no one is capable of doing anything with what they don't have. And it's a very simple rule. Everyone understands. Use what you have. Be creative. Be creative. Do more. So we have to get out of the box. We have to get out of the box because we're in the box. And in a fast-changing world like we have today, if you have experience, you're in a disadvantage. We need people to take charge of the creative new society who have no experience. Sounds like students. And if you have no money, even better. Because if you have money, vous êtes gâté. You're spoiled. I had to start my businesses without money and without experience, and that's the only condition you can succeed. Don't write a business plan first. Never ever. Do the business first. And when you've sent your first invoice out, write the business plan. Coming to cities, we have to sometimes be inspired. And you know this from the biomimetics. Why is a zebra black and white? I mean, you could ask a little bird that's sitting right on there. Why sits the bird right in the middle of the white and the black? Because the black gets hot, the air rises, low pressure. The white is the opposite. Low pressure, high pressure, wind. This is a ventilation system. It's a wonderful ventilation system. Now, this has been known by scientists for more than 20 years, that the zebra can reduce the surface temperature by 9 degrees Celsius thanks to the black and white. Now, I dislike it when people go to fora and talk about it. Why don't no one build this? Here's the building I did in Japan. This is in Sendai, Japan. And while we don't have the time, because I only got 30 minutes, but over lunch we can go into more detail, this building is capable of reducing the temperature inside the building with 5 degrees, solely playing with black and white. No, Monsieur Hollande. We don't need €1 billion to insulate buildings. We just need to paint them black and white. That's all we have to do. Because the insulation that we're putting in is toxic, non-recyclable, ends up in landfills in 30, 40, 50 years. But of course then, he, like me, will not be around anymore. This building saves energy, improves productivity, but it increases the value of the real estate, because if you have a building where you can put the thermostat on 30 degrees and inside it's 25, thanks to the design of the building, that building is worth more money. That's blue economy, that's business. Makes sense. You increase the asset value. Isn't that what we should do? Increase asset value? And here's the beautiful termite who is farming mushrooms on the inside thanks to an absolute genius control of humidity and temperature. And here's the building, the school building we did. This is a school building in Sweden. And by using the same principles of the termite, with air coming in, going through the geothermal heating of the soil, we're able to refresh the air in the room every 30 minutes, not like this building. If one sneezes in this building, everyone sneezes, because the air is trapped. And modern buildings will insulate and will make it impossible for people to get the oxygen they need to maintain their attention. In this school, in the north of Sweden, every 30 minutes, fresh air. What happens to children who breathe fresh air all year round, including winter time when it's minus 25 outside? Brain works better. The result is 10 years of statistics. That this building saves energy. You have healthy children who study better. This school has the least level of absenteeism in Sweden, and the academic results are amongst the top 10 in the country. What do you think parents want to do when they hear about this? Move, because this is a public school. This is not a private school. You have to live there. What happens when 400 families move into this area? Land value goes up. Hey, I love that kind of land speculation. The prices of the land go up because there is good education and healthy children. Yes, I like that. And we've done it once and we've repeated it. You want to know details? Let's talk. That's a smart city. A smart city is a city that's not wired up with electronics and is energy efficient. It has to be much more. In the first place, a smart city is that a city where there are healthy and happy children. Please. Why else would we call it a smart city? We can go way beyond, and there are many other cases that we have worked on around the world. The pieces are coming together. And I have worked, for example, very strongly in an area called bamboo. I called it vegetable steel. And sometimes we have to shake up the rules to the point that that building you see there is the largest bamboo structure in modern history, but it is built with a German building permit. Hey, any building engineers in this room? You want to comply with the German law, and you have a building material they've never seen before, and joints they don't understand? You better produce the science. And I've learned that as an entrepreneur, what I need is association with science. Science needs to tell me what works. And here is the building going up in the World Expo 2000, and my building became the masterpiece, ein Meisterstück. And since it was a masterpiece, all my workers became Meister. They all went home with a diploma from Germany, and they're my 41 ambassadors going around the world promoting bamboo buildings. Why do I do it? Because I want to change social housing. I didn't do it because Alan McPherson now has that building and David Bowie has one as well. Who cares? That's for Paris Match. What I'm interested in is that we change the concept of social housing. Social housing can be beautiful and cheap. This building is $1,700. That's it. 2 floors with a balcony. And it's carbon sequester. It sequesters carbon. That's the kind of thinking we need. That's the kind of change around social housing we desperately need. And yes, we have to talk about energy. But let me get down to some of the basics of energy first, before we get into more details. When you have 10 meters per second flow of water, you can generate 250,000 watts of electricity. When you have a 10 square meter photovoltaic panel, you can generate 2,500. When you have 10 meters per second wind blowing, you can generate 300. I'm sorry, you guys, can't we see these numbers? Shouldn't we focus on water? Shouldn't we do anything with water we can? For the very simple reason that water density is 832 times more than the density of air. If I'm Suzlon or Vestas, I don't like those statistics. And it doesn't mean I'm against wind. I'm asking you, go for the best. Because 15 kilometers of water moving per hour equals the power generated by a wind gust of 380 kilometers an hour. We get the difference? Do we get the difference? And now we have installed smart buildings, not by electricity, done by renewables as such, but we plan the building so that the water that flows through the building in half-inch pipes has little turbines in every pipe, and every time it's half-time of the match of Paris Saint-Germain, every time it's half-time, everyone flushes, and every flush is generating electricity for the whole building. Because you've got little turbines everywhere. Those turbines exist. We have them, we install them. In Paris, not even one representative. Wake up, France. Wake up, Europe. This is produced cheaply. It works for 10 years with a warranty. Generate electricity from your water flushes, from your shower in the morning, all the time. A country like Bhutan has decided to go for flowing water only. I work since the years 2000 with Bhutan, and Bhutan's economy is totally based on renewables, hydropower, but no dams. They only do it with a flow of water. That's nice. I like that. Future of waste. Yes, we talked about waste. Let's talk more about waste. Here you see the solid organic waste. You see the slurry thriving on the water treatment plant, and you're in the city of Ulsan in Korea. Anyone from Korea here? HEC, you have to do a bit better marketing, huh? Get some Koreans here. They're very active. Oh, there is one Korean in the back. Thank you. Nevertheless, do more marketing in Asia. Ulsan, Korea. We have learned that when you combine the organic component of solid municipal waste with the slurry of the water treatment plant, you generate 4 times more biogas than the most efficient biogas installations available in Europe today. 4 times more. We call that smart chemistry. Because we learn the chemistry, we just don't apply it. We're feeding bacteria with excavators. Of course you don't have good results. You have to do a smart chemistry. and with using the smart chemistry, carefully timed, you produce so much that actually it changes your whole business plan for your city. Today, citizens pay taxes to have water treatment and to have solid waste taken care of. In Ulsan, we changed it around. 100,000 inhabitants generate 15,000 cubic meters of methane gas per day. Paris, 10 million? Can we calculate together? 10 million? 1.5 million cubic meters of methane gas per day, just based on the waste water treatment and the solid municipal waste organic component. 1.5 million cubic meters a day. How many tanker ships of petroleum is that in a year? Could we make the business case? Could we develop the logic? Of course Veolia will not like this because they love to have contracts to get paid, but in Ulsan we turned it around. The water treatment company has to pay the city to have the right to get the gas. That's nice. We can cut taxes now. Hey politicians, wake up, it's elections. People love that. Why should you pay taxes for something that can generate a revenue? And when you have the methane gas, what are you going to do with it? Don't burn it. Human beings, when we don't know what to do very well, we burn everything. That's ours. Then we call it smart. We never should burn it. This is what you can do with methane gas. With a very simple microwave and a cold plasma, which consumes as much energy as 5 ironing machines at home. Well, I know you don't have 5 ironing machines at home, but I mean 5 machines for ironing. With that, you can generate pure hydrogen, because you can separate the carbon from the hydrogen. Cheap and easy. And with the carbon, you can make graphene. You know what graphene is? The new expensive microchip material. We can build a new economy going way beyond, and guess what? We can do it in the city. Because that's where we have the concentration of the night soil, as the English call it so nicely. Future of solar. Well, we have to stop thinking only in photovoltaics. And I was very shocked a couple of years ago when I was confronted with a Swedish scientist who told me that photovoltaic cells can be used on both sides. Somehow we decided to only use one side. I mean, what do you mean? We can use both sides? Yes, you can both. And this is the system that the Swedes have designed. It works with luminescence, not with sun, which is a big difference. And thanks to the optical effect, you have the 1/3 of the sun shining straight on, and then the 2/3 you have concentrated solar power going on the bottom. That means with 1/3 of the material, you have exactly the same electricity as you had before. That's smart. That's using physics to do something efficient. No real innovation, but using physics. And no moving parts, like these heliopads in Spain that follow the sun with a laser. Are you nuts? 2,000 of these systems, 5% is always broke. Always broken. If you have a moving part, it will break down. You have to design without moving parts. The result is, though, that it gets hot. And since it gets hot, then you have too much heat, and that heat, oh, that's a problem, say the photovoltaic expert. No, 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 no. Then you make hot water with it. Here you see the systems for district heating installed in Sweden. You have district heating with solar at the same cost price as the natural gas, and you get electricity for free. That's what we like. Multiple benefits, generate more revenue, be more competitive, use what you have. Here it is. It works. And that we install on landfills. Because landfills have beautiful terraces, and those terraces are ideal to install those systems so you can have hot water and electricity at the same time. Now you have 2 systems, a hot water system and a photovoltaic system, 2 together with 1/3 of the materials, and the casing is made out of plastics from the landfill. It works. It's installed. You want to go and see it? Let's go to Sweden. I'm very practical. Landfills today cost money. Landfills are converted into income, jobs, energy, hot water, and yeah, a couple carbon credits. That's the change of the business model that we need. The city is making money on its landfill, the city is generating renewable energy, and it is doing it with hydrogen at once, and it is immediately working towards the new materials, graphene. That's the future. There we can think creatively. And the whole system will be working on 12-volt DC. The city of Barcelona, Mayor Trias, has agreed with me to finally give me one of the manzanas. Anyone from Barcelona here? No, HEC, marketing in Barcelona. Barcelona, one of the great design cities of Europe. A manzana is a quarter, is a building block, is a block. And the whole block will go to DC. Because 80% of all apparatus that consumes electronics today in your home operates on DC. But we have decided everything goes on AC. So our renewable solar energy that is generated in DC is converted into AC, put into this grid, and then back to your home, and there you convert it back into DC. Simply by converting your home to DC only, you save 61% energy day one. 61. Change the rules of the game. Didn't I ask you to consider that? And I know that EDF will not like it. Who cares? Why do you are in the business of pleasing business? We have to be in the business of responding to the basic needs of all. That's what we are in business. Nothing less. The renewables are locally produced, consumed without conversion or heat loss. A building like this, just from those pillars, I can see here, those pillars probably have to carry each, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 10 pillars. These pillars will have to carry at least 5 tons each. For every ton, I can generate 6-volt electricity. Forever! Do you hear me? Because this is piezoelectric. And piezoelectric everyone studies, but then we all forget. Why? Because piezoelectricity is all in DC. And if you have to kick the 1.5 to 6 volts up to the 220, it ain't commercially viable. But if your whole electric system is operating on DC, it's immediately viable. You don't need to have switches anymore. The electricity is working all the time. Never turn it off. Cities are going to have major problems with drinking water. Today, it is confirmed, scientific studies were published last week, that prostate cancer in the cities is increasing because of the adverse effect of the birth control pills with their synthetic molecules that cannot be taken out of the drinking water treatment systems. Excuse us, gentlemen, we are exposed to prostate cancer risks because the water treatment systems cannot take the synthetic pill out of the water. That's the reality we face. And it's hard. And it's not published in French. It's published in English. Because the French companies who control water don't like the publication. I'm not here to please anyone. I'm here to wake you up and say that's a business opportunity. Because we have the capacity with the vortex to disrupt the molecules because we can have 2,000 bar pressure in the center solely based on gravity. Now we're talking business. Gravity-based, you remember gravity? Apple coming down from the tree? And here's the machine. This is the patent application. Every single egg generates 5 vortices, weaves them together, and that puts the pressure on all solids that will be pressed into the center. And then that little pipe on the bottom, this one there, that little pipe will let all the dirt go out, and you repeat it 5 times. You have pure water, simple, pure water, without pumps, without membranes, without filters. This is the way nature works. Nature only works with vortices. Now, vortices follow non-linear mathematical models. So I wish you good luck. No one teaches that at university. We only have linear models which are put on computers, so we can remain stupid and unsustainable. If you do not put your kids into the learning of nonlinear mathematical models, we can never be sustainable because we don't have les outils. We don't have the tools to do the calculations. The only place in the world where they're teaching nonlinear mathematics is Russia. There's a future for Russia. Reverse osmosis has no future. Reverse osmosis is expensive and highly polluting. We can replace it with a gravity-fed system. I can go on for hours, you know. I have hundreds of examples of implemented cases that work around the world. And these are the business opportunities. But I'm going to conclude with 2 small cases. One, manufacturing and competing against the Chinese downtown in the city. Second, I'm going to talk about South Africa for a short moment. To entice you, let's look at the Ferrari Formula 1 steering wheel. It's made out of a block of 4 kilograms of titanium, but the steering wheel is only 300 grams. If you're using cold plasma and laser, not 3D printing, you can do with titanium, out of powder, you can make anything you want. And it's additive manufacturing. It exists, it functions. You use 12 times less material, you use no water at all, and in situ, you can recycle everything. You crush it back to 70 micron size dust, and you can reuse it on the spot. Nothing else needed. This business is fast, cheap, and local. In Belgium, there's a small company that pioneered this, and the prostheses, what you need in your mouth if you lose a tooth, made out of titanium, today is 95% produced in China. Thanks to this technology, it is 95% produced in Belgium. Outcompete the Chinese in manufacturing by using digital 3D systems allows us to rethink how the value added can be brought back to the city where it belongs. And the city can't do it if the industry is polluting and energy intensive. But if you're only using the equivalent of an iron and you need no water, you can do it in the city. And you can supply the city, cut down on all the other costs that otherwise disturb us. Final little word on Cape Town. I'm based in Cape Town. And my biggest challenge is that we have an agreement with the city of Cape Town in the Western Cape to develop 750,000 homes over 20 years as an engine for new economic development, a totally holistic approach. I have no time to go into details. Again, over lunch, we can do. But I give you one case. Just with 5 million bottles, glass bottles, we have the break-even to set up a factory to make building materials from recycled glass. Glass foam. Glass foam that the only thing you need is some heat and you put in CO2. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. We can sequester CO2 in the buildings. It has multiple functions. It's competitive with 500,000 bottles. But basically what we've done is we've changed the LCA for the drink containers. Because according to Coca-Cola's thick reports, supported by Pepsi, the plastic bottles is the best because they're the lightest and therefore mean less cost of transportation. Yes, that's because you're in linear thinking. If you're in a holistic thinking model, then you will realize that if your glass bottle can be locally converted for 5 million units only into a competitive factory that outcompetes with any other insulation system or reinforced concrete or steel, then we're giving a new life to the glass. That is what I call upcycling, not recycling. You upcycle it. You generate more jobs. You use the material, and as a result, we are working with cities around the world to prohibit the plastic bottles, not because we're against plastic, because we are in favor of having a more competitive, cheaper building industry of higher quality. And science proves it. 4 factories have already been built. If you're interested, I'll tell you more details. 4 factories built. That's what we need to know. And we think there will be hundreds of factories in years to come. To conclude, every week I present open source, these kind of cases. Open source. We can't have this proprietary information. This cannot be subjected to IP. Entrepreneurship is based on open source information, and we seem to forget that Mr. Ian Fleming, who invented the vaccines, insisted it was open source and never patented. Doing good for the world is not subject to patents. You can find more on those websites. But my biggest challenge, and with that I'll conclude, is that I have done so many speeches. I have talked to more than 100 heads of state and prime ministers. And the only thing I remember from meeting these heads of state are the pictures. Because for the rest, nothing happened. So I don't meet them anymore. I don't care. But what I care is the next generation. So every single new innovation that I see as a business model, not as a technology, as a business model, I translate into a fable and I bring it to children. And I'm happy to inform you that 6 weeks ago, the Chinese Communist Party has decided that all my fables will be distributed free of charge to all children in elementary schools in China. They want to change behavior. They want to be sustainable. It's never ever going to be in any schools in Europe approved by the government. But China is doing it. India is doing it together with the Tata Group. I'm out to reach In my professional life that I have left, I'm going to reach 500 million children every day with new business ideas, translated in a language that everyone understands. And that's nothing so special. With China and India signed up, we're going to do it. And it is not exceptional because Nestlé does that every day. I can do as good as Nestlé, at least. And we have to have those ambitions. When we don't have the passion, when we don't have the drive, we're never going to change this world for the better. Inspired by my mentor, Soichiro Honda, who I had the privilege of working with in 1980 for 3 months in his office, he taught me a very important principle. Some people dream to escape reality. Others dream to change reality forever. I hope you will change reality forever. Thank you.